I hear noise. Yay, and we have a red light. And we're live. Yay.
Welcome back, guys.
Hey. Hello. So just real quick, now this is episode what, 6?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So we've had 3 episodes go online now.
Right.
So we're 3 episodes online deep. And are you excited when they go up, or how do you feel? Do you get nervous, or?
Definitely. I feel like it's a combination of both, like nervous and excited, because we're putting ourselves out there, so we're completely vulnerable, right? Yeah. And so I think it also takes a lot to do that. So there is that like bravery aspect to it. So for me, it's a little bit of both.
Yeah,
I agree.
Also, I didn't realize like how much like stupid shit I just say. This is literally me just mouth vomit, and so sometimes I'm like, did I say that out loud? Like, what's wrong with me? But
I think that's why people listen to podcasts, though. Sometimes it's like you think something and someone else says it, and you're like, wow, that's crazy, because like I was thinking that same thing, and someone else just said it out loud. Yeah. And so a lot of times when you listen to things, it's kind of like therapeutic to hear it all out loud. Yeah. So, I mean, I liked listening back to it. And so I was telling Jim this morning that on the way here, I was listening to our episode 3. Like, I couldn't watch it because I was driving, but I was listening to it, and I was like laughing out loud in the car. And I was like, we're like genuine, because it's so raw and uncut and genuine that it's like we're not celebrity podcasters who have like all this like fancy equipment. Yeah. Right. Like, we're really just round table kind of talking about things, and it's just very not unfinished, but like untouched, and it's just unfiltered. I don't know, like unfiltered.
Yeah, unfiltered is a great word.
Yeah, and so it's like what you see is what you get kind of thing, and so it makes it very real and relatable, and I care a lot more about that aspect than the naysayers who don't relate to the content, and that's fine too, because they're all out there, and that's fine. Yeah.
And we're not making this for everyone. So like we went in knowing that it was going to be, we want to talk about what we want to talk about. And hopefully we find people who want to do that too.
Right, exactly.
But that's okay. The biggest thing I've like, especially from the first 2 episodes, where like my phone was blowing up of just, where are you at? Where are you filming? Because the friggin' bookshelf. Yeah,
like we need to link your dad. Or something. Like,
it was your dad.
Dad built this with his hands. So if you need a shelf,
he's a contractor. He's really good at his job. Yes. He definitely has like a creative eye.
Tell us where this this whole idea came from.
Yeah. I have so many books, and they needed a home, and so I was running out of space upstairs because I have 4 bookshelves in our bedroom.
So real.
And I was like looking at Pinterest for inspiration, and so I told my dad, I was like, this is my vision. Like, can we do something like this? And then he was like, yeah, let's do it. So we went to like Home Depot, and we got all of the materials and stuff, and it was like a collective effort. I did the painting, and he constructed all. It's like the amount of measurement that goes into the work is insane. And so we had to buy like all the tools too, so he was able to like cut at certain angles, and it did take a lot of time, but like I'm so grateful that he was able to do that for me. So everyone was just like, where's your studio? I was like, we're literally in someone's house, right? Like, this is someone's house. It's not a studio. But
and my dad called me, and he had said the same, where's the studio? Where I said, that's someone's house.
Like, that's a great space.
He's like, that's such a great space. Oh my gosh. Like, I think it's so fantastic, and it focuses without taking attention from you guys. And I was like, thanks, Dad. And he's like, it's like you guys did on purpose. I was like, we did.
Yeah. Backdrop.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, it's crazy because like when we're not filming, I have like my desk in the middle, so it's like an office space. And so when I'm on like work calls and stuff, I have like some of the doctors are like, I love your bookshelf. Like, it's so pretty. And I would get like chats in Zoom, like people complimenting. And I was just like, thank you.
Yeah.
So it's really nice to like
Jam's
hear that.
dad, everyone.
Yeah. So to our fourth castmate, like this is the bookshelf. He's like pulling in all the views for us. So maybe some DIY channels will start following us.
Yeah.
But definitely shout out to Jane's dad for doing that. Release days make me nervous and excited.
Yeah.
Just because it's so much work, like getting to that point, and then you're kind of like relieved, but then you still there's still more work to be done. But just when you get those, like, I don't know, I think at this point we have like 14 likes, and I'm like, you know.
Every like, I think, and for like the big wigs, right, they probably don't think like 1 like or 2 likes. You know what I mean? It's when they get to like the next 1,000th or like 10,000, they're like, oh, okay, I'm making a difference. But for us, it's every 10 likes, or, you know, like every like matters.
Right, exactly.
And so it is a big deal.
And I think as long as we're having fun,
Yes.
that's what matters.
Yeah.
So.
And it's fun. I have fun doing this. Yeah. Okay, so we'll start, I guess. Let's get started. We're Tairn's Angels.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
For the new ones.
Yeah, right? Oh, yeah. So let's like do a little bit of recap. So we're going through a book series right now, A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. It's going to be riddled with spoilers. So if you have not read this series, or pretty much anything in the Maas verse, or probably Fourth Wing, like, you're going to get spoilers. So what'd you say last time, Nay? Like, pause, go do that, and then come back and join us. And so we don't ruin the series for you. And having said that, last time we left off at chapter 16? Or we left off at chapter 15.
I believe, yeah.
So, and 15 was when when Feyre had faced
Nagas,
4 Nagas, and she got to meet the Suriel. And then we kind of really got to see who Feyre is at her core, which is just someone who's kind of like driven by just doing what's right.
Very selfless.
Yeah, she is. And I think, because actually one of our YouTube comments was that Feyre kind of came off as bratty in the first, when she's like thinking about her siblings and everything, and she's doing these things and she seems kind of bratty. And then you kind of see this and it's like, well, yeah, it was kind of annoying listening to her complain about her siblings. However, she is kind of like driven by this selfless inner drive. Like, that's just who she is at her core, which I think could probably be exhausting.
Probably is. Yeah.
To just always feel like, God, they go save this person.
Right, because it kind of like takes away from your own happiness and your own needs.
Yeah.
You know, after a while, it takes a toll.
Yeah. I think in that moment too, like when we see her, you know, save the Suriel before kind of saving herself, it shows you that the smartest choice is, well, the right choice to make is not always the smartest or safest choice. And so she really is just always going to do the right thing kind of person. Yes. Even if it means she endangers herself, or it's not the smartest thing to do, or the rest of us would probably look the other way. At the core of it, I think she really is just always trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
So
it's literally altruism at its finest.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a big word. I'll have to Google it later.
Well, and
but yes.
Google.
Altruism.
We'll just like put it up on the next video of like enter definition right here. Okay. So, yeah, but she describes the Naga as the Fae of her nightmares. And she when she sees him, she says, this is the Fae that everyone's afraid of. And and you know, because at this point we know how afraid the humans are of them, and they're terrified. And she's like, these are all just gorgeous people. What are we even talking about? And then she says, this is the monster that we're all afraid of. So it's terrifying. And she's just kind of like, go ahead, homie, go be free. Like, I
mean, but we're also talking about a girl who at 14 was in the woods hunting things that most people would do their best to avoid. You know, so I think if anybody was going to approach a situation like that, it would be Feyre. So, yeah.
Okay, so chapter 16 starts with her kind of processing everything, and she's with Alice, the housemate, which I You'll have to back me up on this one, Jane. I hate Alice.
I like Alice.
I hated her too. But then I grew an appreciation for her towards the end, because at the same time, Alice is also protecting her family and doing the best that she can.
Yeah.
Kind of the same thing as Farrah. You know what I mean? So they're alike in some ways, but I feel like she is condescending.
Yes.
And kind of like belittles her. And that to me just angered me in the process. So I kind of deviated from like that first initial reaction to Alice. And I think in the subsequent books, because she's also in the other books, I grew to kind of like her a bit more. So, but yeah, in this book, I didn't like her.
Yeah.
No.
I put a court of thorns and gaslighting.
Oh my God, gaslighting. Yes.
So Farrah's gone through this traumatic event, right? And she's now killed 2 Naga or 1 Naga, but either way, she's killed a big bad. She's saved a cereal. She's trapped a cereal. And Alice is like, you stupid girl. Like, and then she's just, and Farrah's asking questions, and she's saying like, well, what's going on? What do I know about it? And she's like, you don't need to worry about it.
Yeah, it's not your concern. Yeah. And then Farrah's like, well, no, it is my concern.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then she says, well, if you have family, I have family. Okay, bitch, how do we know that? Like, you're just...
Right.
I can't, like, she blames Farrah for not knowing things, but then won't tell her anything. And I understand she can't tell her.
Right.
There's like certain things that they are not, I think they're bound by magic. They can't tell until she figures it out.
Amarantha's curse, yeah.
But that's not the case here. She's just berating her. She's such a...
I think it's a lot of things happening, though.
The Spring Court pisses me off, man.
Yeah. But remember, she's like, the thing with Alice is that she has her own demons. Like, she's lost family. She's kind of, like the children that she does care for are not biologically her own, right? So it's like, she knows what it feels like to lose family in the midst of these traumatic experiences that they've gone through. And so she also knows that there's this underlying curse. She knows what it would mean to have someone like Farrah in the Spring Court and what that could mean if Tamlin falls in love with her and she falls in love with him. She knows what it could mean if that doesn't happen. So there's a lot at stake. And to invest, I think, emotionally in someone who is human, like, I just think that there's a lot happening underneath the surface there. And so going through the reread, like, for me personally, the first time I read this, I don't think I put too much thought into Alice as a character.
Definitely.
I just thought she's a caretaker. Either. You know what I mean? She's also not originally from the Spring Court. And so imagine she had to, like, her entire life had to shift, through into an entirely different court. And so I think she's just battling her own demons. At the core of her, she's trying to make sure that her family is safe at the end of it. And she really doesn't know what the end result is going to be for them, other than this curse is not going to be broken. They're all going to be doomed. They're going to be Amarantha's slaves, whatever's going to happen. And she doesn't have time to waste on, yes, a pitiful little human who doesn't measure up to any level of Fae. And shit, I mean, if I could be a human or Fae, I'd want to be Fae. So, I mean, yes, and there are areas where I feel like, damn, she could have a bit more compassion for lots of different reasons. I can understand the frustration that she has dealing with somebody who is like, why do you keep putting yourself in these dangerous situations? Like, you are not invincible, right? Like, you're not immune to these dangers that are out there. You've been told that they're out there. You've been told to avoid these things. And it's like you're out here looking for the most dangerous things that are in the woods, kind of thing. Like, no one told you to go look for a Suriel. Not only have you found one, you trapped it. Then the Naga came.
Well,
you're out here fighting all her. Well, but, yes, but I get that was under the best, whatever. But still, she's out here and, like, she's encountering all these things that she's supposed to be trying to avoid. And I think it can be frustrating because if she is going to be the curse breaker, she's either going to die first from one of these things that shouldn't even be seeing. I don't know. I think Alice means well. She just doesn't know how to feel for Feyre. I don't really know how to put those into words.
No, I get it. I just think for people who are solely reliant on this pitiful human girl, they're not really making her fall in love with their
But they're not.
cause.
They're not though. Remember, because Tamlin's kind of like whatever about it. Remember, he was like fine with them not pursuing finding someone to break this curse anymore.
Well, no, but that's why they finally started sending out.
No, I think Homeboy was like, this is our last straw. I'm going to go regardless. And Tamlin was just kind of like, fine, whatever. But I think Tamlin had already lost hope that something was going to come out of it. But he just got lucky.
But I think they're still holding on, because why wouldn't they just go under the mountain then?
Well, I mean, but why not just ride out your time? No one wants to be doomed earlier than they have to be.
Farrah showed up, right?
Yeah.
And
right.
So I think on some level he kind of accepted it for what it was, and probably was hoping for the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I think.
You definitely catch, what do they say, more, what is it, like more flies with honey or whatever, or I don't know, whatever. I just think it just drives me crazy. Shit. I don't know.
Honey.
I don't know. Either way.
I don't know what kind of flies you want.
They're I hate it. I just hate that and I think probably just knowing later what happens, I'm sure that's clouding my judgment, which is okay. That's part of this. So, but I think the biggest thing is I cannot stand them calling her stupid girl, because that's like one of her biggest insecurities. One of her biggest insecurities is that she thinks that she's stupid because she can't read. So just hearing someone who's kind of her caretaker, right? Like just berating her and just calling her a stupid girl for things that she cannot help. Like, yes, she did put her in danger. I do understand that. But like, don't ask questions you need answers to, you stupid girl. Like,
well, like if you think of the thing, like they don't like intentionally put themselves in dangerous situations, right? So I think it's also understanding, why do humans do stupid things like that? Things that don't make sense, right? But the Fae are also incredibly powerful. They have magic. They, you know what I mean? They're not as vulnerable as a human would be without all of those things. And so it's just like, if you don't have magic to protect you, why would you put yourself in that kind of situation? And so there's I don't know if ignorance is the right word, but like there's a lack of understanding as to why a human would do those kinds of things without having the same sorts of protections that Fae would have. And so, of course, there's also a lack of compassion on Alice's part.
I also think, right, if you have these insecurities about yourself, right, and to have someone else also see that and throw that in your face hurts so much more.
Yes.
Right? And it's just completely disparaging. And so I think that like has such a negative impact. She's like, damn, like I already feel this way. And for other people to then throw that out there just further supports that I am nothing, right? So I think it really messes with her self-esteem.
Yeah. More than she realizes.
Right, more than she realizes.
Yeah. And it does make it seem like every situation she does find herself in it's almost like she's trying to prove her worth to them more than she is to herself. Even though I do think she's still trying to prove her worth to herself as well. But it's like, I need to show them that I'm not just some stupid little human girl, that I am capable. And I may not be Fae, but I'm more powerful than they think I am.
Yeah.
And we know from reading the series that she's a badass, you know, even before she realizes it.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, Alice. Okay. So so this is where we learn the facts and the myths, because they say Tamlin asked her what she was even doing out there in the first place. And then she says, well, they can't lie. And he said, why? Who told you we can't lie? And she's like, everybody knows. He said, oh yeah, we spread that lie.
That makes you wonder what else they're lying
in her head, she's just like, the fact that he's saying it means that he's telling the truth, because she's thinking like it can't be a lie or it can be a lie. And I literally just think of that meme where they just have like all the numbers going in the background and there's like
the equation.
Yeah. And she's just, and she's like, it hurts my head to think. I think she said, it hurts my head to think about, or something like that. So I'm just going to believe him.
Right.
And so, and you just you find out that you always knew that her worldview was limited, but you kind of find out like how limited it was, and how the humans kind of have this false idea of safety. Like they're really at the mercy of the Fae.
Mm-hmm.
And because he, I can't remember if it's this chapter or another chapter where Tamlin even says, she says, like, you know, don't Fae hate humans? And he says, why do you think we went to war with them?
he tells her that.
Right.
Yeah. And like they wouldn't have survived without Fae backing them.
Yeah.
And that's heavy.
Right, because she asks Tamlin, can Fae and humans be friends?
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's a little bit later. But yeah, she does. And he says, yeah, we went to war for them.
Right. And then she was like, were you essentially like there? And he said he was too young at the time to like fully understand. But had he, you know, been older and all that, that he would be right alongside the Fae who did protect and wanted to fight for the humans.
Yes. And you find out that there were slaves and his parents had slaves, or was it his parents who had slaves? And he was like, I could never do that. And I think something with this reread I've noticed is there's still a lot of Tamlin we don't know about. He's not very open. He doesn't, he's very selective about what he shares. And because he said, I was too young. Like, why not just tell her how old you were? And why not just say, like, I wasn't even 10 years old? Just to give her an idea. So she's still, I don't know, just like little select. He's like, you're always trying to pull every crumb you possibly can out of him. And then you still only kind of know part of the story.
Yeah, I like that he's mysterious in that way, though.
I also want to, like, for me, I felt like chapter 16 was a pivotal moment in the dynamic between Farah and Tamlin, because essentially you do see a softer side of him, a more empathic side, because he basically affirms that your family didn't see or didn't value how important or how crucial you were in their survival, right? And he gives her credit. He's like, admires the fact that she was able to fight off the Naga and all those things, pretty much. And so she's like, and then he's like, you know, I can help you write or whatever. And she's like, I don't need help, you know? And so she's kind of resistant because at the same time, she's like she doesn't fully trust him. And yeah, so I kind of like see like the shift between them, more so Tamlin. So you do see that he does want to help her. He does recognize how valuable she is. So
I think he starts to care.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I think probably because I think he's probably seeing her in a different light, because up until this point, he's just kind of seen a weak, scared girl who just kind of is almost like a pest. And he's probably like, he probably hasn't been able to see her as someone who could be the curse breaker. And then he says, Lucian told me, no, he says, you saved the cereal. Like, they now know that she's not only defeated to Naga, but like the first thing that she's done is save the cereal.
And
she's
Lucian
not a
is impressed by
murderer.
that. That's
Yeah.
specifically what he's impressed by.
I think that they see
And
that she's not really a murderer.
Yeah. So yes, and she's not really a murderer.
Yeah.
And because even in chapter 15, when she talks about how she first sees the Naga, she says, I would have not hesitated to kill this creature in the woods. Like, I wouldn't have crossed my mind. So she's able to tell the difference between like a monster and just the need, like, you know, prey. And so I think Tamlin finally gets to see that with this, because she showed her badassery with killing the Naga on her own, but also showed her compassion with someone who's not her kind. And I think that really just kind of opened their eyes about, they really don't even know her. So I think that's kind of probably the first time they actually really saw her for her, because he says like, you really love them, talking about her family.
Yeah.
And she doesn't really comment because, again, I don't think she's driven out of love. I'm not saying she doesn't love her family, but I think she's just driven by this innate sense of rightness. And we see that she'll save anything. Like, she just, so yes, she does love her family, but that's not why she did all of those things. It's just core who she is.
Yeah. There's in chapter 16, Tamlin says, I wonder if your family realizes it, that everything you've done wasn't about that promise to your mother or for your sake, but theirs.
Yeah.
And then she just says, leave me alone. And he goes, I'm not insulting you. And she's like, I don't need your help. And he goes, clearly not. Like, you ensnared the cereal and you killed Tunaga on your own. And then he goes, they're fools for not seeing it.
Oh.
And that's why I feel like you do see that softer side of him. And it does, like, have an impact. And he goes, you gave so much for them. Do you even know how to laugh?
Yeah. Do you even know how to laugh?
Like, she hasn't had a childhood. She hasn't had the opportunity to know what that even means, you know? And so.
And I don't think she even knows who she is.
Yeah.
And it even more past, like, you know, adolescence going into adulthood, just like finding yourself. But I don't think she knows who she is at all. Yeah. Like, she only exists for other people.
Right.
So she's just kind of like a vessel at this point. And so I do like that he said, do you even know how to laugh? Because, do you even know how to have fun or enjoy?
There's I'm trying to think of this quote. It's something about people, like, something about being strong. And, like, when it's, like, all you've ever known, it'll come to me. Or I'll Google it later.
Like, you have no other choice but to be strong and move forward.
She doesn't know
and make
how to
it work.
Anything else
but that.
And so I genuinely don't even think she knows how much she has done, or she understands the weight of what she's done for her family, because she's only ever known that she had to do stuff for them. And it's not even that they necessarily deserve everything she's done. It's that she's just always assumed the responsibility and carried that weight so that they wouldn't have to.
Right.
And that's deep.
He also lets her know that her family is safe. And so that, like, assuages, like, her concern for her family and the burden of fulfilling that, you know, promise that she made to her mother to care for their family, to care for her family. And then that's when he goes into further detail about him glamoring their memories and, you know, saying that Farrah went to go take care of an aunt. And what else? Yeah, so he, like, altered their memories.
And she still is just like, but do they know that they need to be vigilant? Like, she's still worried that, yes, they know she's safe and, like, and they have money now and all these things, but, like, do they know that there's still a danger out there? Like, she wanted to make sure that they still had a little bit of fear.
Yeah, because she said, did you warn them about the possible threat?
Yes.
And then he says, not outright, it's woven into their glamour on their memories, along with an order to run at the first sign of something being amiss. Yeah. So I think that also kind of helps alleviate some of that stress that she had.
Which is actually really nice of him, because he could have just been like, he could have just glamored them, left that whole piece out, and if something bad came, let them figure it out. But the fact that he sort of wove that in, it does show that he does care.
Right, absolutely.
And that was before he knew anything about her. You know, so I don't think it's that he doesn't like humans or, you know, whatever it is. He does care.
No, I think he loves humans.
Yeah,
I think
because why put that in there?
Yeah.
If you didn't care, because what's another human life lost for you?
Mm-hmm.
Right, he shows Farrah that compassionate side.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a good thought, and I think that's what Tamlin is good at, giving you what you want, and maybe just not what you need.
Right.
And those are hard. That's a hard thing to. Sometimes it's really hard to give someone what they need.
Right.
And but right now, what Farrah wants is what she needs. So it's the same thing. So we've already said he's good for the human Farrah, and right now he's a good first boyfriend. And so, like, good first relationship.
Yeah.
I also want to take note that when he, like, assures her that her family is safe and it eases her, like, anxiety, she tells him, like, outright, she's like, paint. If it's not too much to ask, I want to paint. And so I think she realizes that there's that side of her that she wants to explore and channel her creativity. And so he obliges and says he'll get her the brushes and the paints and the canvas to allow her to use that as an outlet.
It's almost like he unlocks a window.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not like an entire door, but he unlocks a window into who she is, and she lets him in. Right. Starts to. You know, gives him a little glimpse of of something that actually, you know, means something to her other than her family.
Right.
Yeah.
It's progress.
It's progress. I think it's progress just all around. And it's just more unfolding of, I think especially like up until this part of the book, it's all about character development and the courts and everything kind of happening outside of the spring court. That's all kind of background noise and doesn't become the main plot. Like right now, the plot is just Farah. And then we have the 16 rolls into 17. In 17, she wakes up having a nightmare. Well, I think 17 starts with her in the middle of the nightmare.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And I think she's seeing Amarantha in this nightmare, because she talks about how she says, and she want this like completely white person or something like that who is desperate for my name, and I won't give it to her or something like that. Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, no, I think I mentioned this maybe in the last episode that we filmed, how I think it kind of reminded me of like that Quicksilver.
Oh, I haven't read Quicksilver,
the Dream Walker or whatever. What is she considered?
I don't remember.
Where she can like see through other people's dreams. And so it made me think, is she dreaming through Rhysand? And maybe Amarantha is, because, you know, Rhys is kind of shacking up with Homegirl, and maybe, because, you know, she's also asking Rhys for the name. Has Rhys, but Rhys hasn't come yet, right? Okay, so maybe it is just not a foreshadowing, premonition.
Foresight, yeah, or premonition of what's to come.
Yeah, because we know that
that is foreshadowing.
It's still
though.
foreshadowing.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah, it is
Okay,
foreshadowing.
Yeah. And it could be, because we know that Fire Knight's coming close, so magic's getting a little bit more potent in the air. And so it very well could be Rhys having a stress dream.
Yeah.
And Amarantha could be completely torturing him. And she's feeling it. And then it just kind of, and then it could be some kind of foresight or maybe a warning or something. But this was something that I did not catch my first time around, was that nightmare being, I just kind of brushed it off as just like a nightmare, because maybe now she's finally processing seeing the Naga and, you know, all those things, and the Buka and cereal and all, and her brain is literally like, girl, can we relax? Like, can we, but I think that this was definitely Amarantha. And
well, it's like the lips, the nails.
Yeah.
Like it's just, and then when you know what Amarantha looks like, it's like,
and
she's describing her.
The other thing is she's woken up by screaming.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, was she witnessing the fairy's torture? And maybe it's like residual, like maybe Rhys is having a nightmare of the fairy being tortured and she's feeling it.
Wait.
Or she's dreaming about it.
For some reason I can't think of it. Has Rhys already come to the house?
No.
Okay.
Rhys is not
so it can't be that she's dreaming about Claire being tortured.
No.
I think
none of that's happened.
I think we learn later on that there has been a connection from Rhys has seen Farah, right? With her painting, right? When she was back home. There's always been a connection, but they weren't able to associate, they didn't know what it meant.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so we learned that later, that they've always had some sort of connection to each other.
Yeah.
There's
And so that could be what that is.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering, if Rhys was part of that torture or something. And because we know that he can sometimes come and go from under the mountain, and she makes him do things that he really regrets.
Yeah.
And she takes his wing. She takes the fairy's wings, and we know that is like one of Rhys's biggest fears, because
he took the mom's wings, right? Somebody took the mom's
dad.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Tamlin's dad took his mom's wings. They're still in the study.
Yeah, but she doesn't know that part yet, right?
No, none of that.
She won't know until Rhys tells her anything.
Did he also have the sister's wings or just the mom's wings?
That's a good question.
When we get there, we'll see.
Yeah.
But definitely, the connection's always been there. And in this part, for me, this chapter, so chapter 17 is just the nightmare and the fairy showing up and him because Farrah says, I've heard that scream before. It's when, she says something like, it's when an animal that I tried to take down is dying in pain and I didn't deal the death shot or something like that. So the fact that she knows that and immediately recognizes that a creature is dying and is compelled to go to it, even after Lucian's like giving her a side eye, and she just completely ignores him.
Well, because she still shows compassion even for the game that she is trying to kill to be able to provide for her family. She still understands that in order to save her family, keep her family alive, it is going to cost a life, because a life is a life no matter the form it comes in. And so again, it just circles back and shows what kind of character.
And she stays with that character until he passes.
Yes.
And I think Tamlin says something, and she was like she
didn't want him to die alone.
She didn't want him to die alone.
She said, because she held his hand. She said, if it was me, I would want someone to hold my hand at the end.
Right.
Which is 100% foreshadowing, because that's exactly what Reese does for her at the end. And that is because, and I think maybe that's always her driving thing, is if it was me, because she's felt so alone, especially since her mom died. She's felt so alone. So she's always like, if it were me, I would want someone hunting for me. I would want someone providing for me. Because she's always wanted that
golden rule, right? But she actually lived by it. So it's not so much like, do I do this for you because I think it's what you would do for me?
Treat people the way you want to be treated,
because this is what I would want someone to do for me.
Right.
Yeah. And she also lied to him to make him feel better. Yeah. She's, because he said, my wings. And she's like, you'll get them back. And that part, that part chokes me up, because especially now because this is the reread, we know how important their wings are to them. And then it just like makes me weep for like Azriel, and how he spent like the first part of his life not even knowing how to fly. Right. And then you think about who is it who had her wings clipped? Was it Emery?
I
think it was Emery.
Yeah.
And they just,
clothes shop.
Yeah, and they just clipped her wings. So she literally cannot fly. Oh my God. It just, when he's just crying, my wings, I'm just like.
Well, I think of the movie Maleficent.
Yeah.
And I know that's like, but it's, but yeah, that was like that's a big deal when.
It's like getting me choked up just thinking about, just knowing how important their wings are to them.
It's like having your legs.
And she did it. And it also shows how fucking cruel Amarantha is. Yeah. She doesn't care. Kill him. She makes him live a little bit longer to know that he doesn't have his wings. Like, I hate her so much.
Well, that's really Amarantha's thing though, right? Like she wants it to last. Like she knows she can just kill you, but where's the fun in doing that when she can torture you and have it last a little bit longer?
She's a really good bad guy.
Yeah.
She is.
Yeah. Yeah. It's easy to kill somebody. It takes more work to sit there and torture them and sit through it.
Yeah, she is a really good villain. And just a side note, it kind of reminds me of like Klaus from Vampire Diaries. I don't know if you ever got
but
no, not as bad, but anyways, it's like I love him as a villain. Amarantha's a good villain. Yeah.
I don't think I'd ever be able to tolerate an Amarantha redemption arc.
Oh no.
But
you're right. With Klaus,
Klaus, I'm always like, he doesn't mean it. Yeah. He's just being silly. Yeah. Oh, Klaus. Now I just got to go watch a Vampire Diaries. It's fine. So yeah, that's all we get. And chapter 17, I think, serves as a good transition. So it's like,
I agree. We
kind of before.
Yes, we're moving from like the exposition, the setting, the world building, introduction to characters, and more of the arc between Tamlin and Farrah and the events to come, because there's small events that are happening that are essentially leading up to what's gonna go on under the mountain. So far we have the Naga, the Puka, the Suriel. So these are like adventures, right? Essentially that they're going, or experiences that they're going through. And so it's just going to continue to happen as we go further into the book.
Yeah.
So we are moving from the exposition into like the plot.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly how I read it. And I kind of think that this is like, you could almost be like end of part 1.
Yep.
And then
End of
the
part
next,
1.
Yeah.
Maybe
and then
that's how they
chapter
have
18.
the dramatized thing split up.
Maybe.
That would make sense.
Yeah, we're getting into like the meat and potatoes of the book, pretty
Because,
much.
Ooh, I'm
because
hungry.
chapter 8 nice. I know, same.
steak
My
sounds
stomach just
good.
rumbled and I was like, oh, should have had that protein shake. It's fine. Because chapter 18 starts almost kind of like, it has a different feel to it. Because it starts with Tamlin being like, hey, I have a gallery or something. And she's like, oh, you do? And he's like, yeah, but it's not ready.
Yeah,
Because
he's like-
now he knows a little bit more about her. So
Right.
it's kind of like, and I think every time she shows her true character, he gets a little bit more of, I want to give her more things. I think gifts is definitely his love language.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And this is where he already has like the horses set up and everything. Is that right? And they're about to go to the meadow, I think.
Yes, they're about to go to the meadow. Yep.
Yes. And so he's like, while we're waiting for that, I have a treat for you. So it's like, so don't forget that I have this treat, but then let's go do something else.
Right.
And I also think that the trip to the meadow is kind of like, I don't know if it was kind of like as a thanks for not running away again, because that was a traumatic experience watching. She's just like trauma.
Yeah.
And then he's like, let's do something fun.
Let's have a reprieve,
Yes,
right?
yeah,
Let's-
sorry.
Yeah. Let me show you something that I enjoy or something that means a lot to me. So he also kind of like opens up little by little with her. You know?
And he takes her to his favorite place.
Yeah.
Which is very sweet. And this is where we get that fun side of Tamlin. And he's just kind of being goofy. The thing that jars me about this scene in particular is that, because you think that Lucian's not really going, or for some reason I forgot that Lucian was there. And then all of a sudden he shows up, like he's there. I'm like, oh, did he bring Lucian on his date with him? Like, they're so codependent. It's crazy. But I do love that this is where she admits that the cereal, like, that she knows now that he's a High Lord.
Yeah.
And she kind of starts having fun because he's like, what did she tell you? Like, what secrets? And she's like, that you like to be brushed. And she's just like talking shit. She's like,
Oh yeah, there's some banter between
there's
them.
banter between them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're starting to get a little bit more comfortable with each other. So
And Lucian is there because for whatever reason, he's like he's a professional third wheeler.
he really is.
And he, and I think that's where we say, my God, Farrah, did you just laugh or something? And you're just like, oh, finally, oh, sorry, I forgot I have a mic. Finally, she gets to be 19. I think that this is probably the only chapter where she lets herself have fun and be young. I think.
Yeah,
but,
I see that.
But this also is where we really get some backstory. And they tell, like, we get about Lucian, how Lucian came to the Spring Court. I don't know, did we always know he wasn't Spring Court?
It's a good question. I don't
think so. Because then he talks more about like the human that he was in love with, and right? I think all of that comes after.
Yeah, this is all. Yeah, this is where he's telling like how he ended up.
And that's
there.
how he ended up.
And he learned that his brothers kind of suck.
Right. Because she has no reason. Oh my God, I'm over here like just manhandling the mic, the fuzzy ball on here. Because she has no reason to think that he hasn't always been part of the Spring Court. Because especially with how close him and Tamlin are, and understanding that there are separate courts and that people don't really cross over to like high five each other. Everyone kind of does their own thing, right? And so I think that sort of opens her eyes to, okay, because I don't even think at this point she knows because Alice hasn't even told her yet, right? That happens much later.
Told her what?
That she's not from Spring Court.
Yeah, she told her in the
she?
the last chapter. Yeah, that's what she
But
found
was
out.
it before she goes under the mountain, right? Is
No,
it right?
she just told her that she's part of a different court.
Is it a summer court that she's a part of? Alice?
I think it was. Why did I think it was when after Feyre comes back and is about to go under the mountain that Alice opens up about that and her nephews?
Yeah,
I could have sworn, but
that's a good. Yeah, I think that's
we'll
when she
we'll
does
recap.
disclose
I can't
that.
remember, but anyway. So
Yeah, I thought that's why she.
Let's see.
I thought that's when she discloses that she's not actually from there either, because I think Feyre at that point asks her like, "Why aren't your nephews here with you?" And she tells him that they're somewhere else.
Right. It was before Feyre goes under the mountain.
Yeah, because that's the turning point where I feel like, okay, at least she goes under the mountain with a little bit more understanding of what Alice has to lose as well by saying, "Okay, I'm gonna help you." But I still don't think this is the smartest decision to make. But I get that you think it's the right one to make. And so I'm going to help you. That's obviously pushing forward.
Yeah, but
I
still.
think it is still later. But to answer your question, I don't think up until this point she knows that Lucian is not, like, doesn't originate from the Spring Court. But it does start to unravel because they're all starting to trust each other more. They're letting each other in. And these are more of like those specific details that they start to share with each other. I think this is where he tells, or she finds out. I don't think he tells her about the human. I think Tamlin tells her, right? About the father, his father killing the human he was in love with and all that. I don't remember that coming directly from Lucian.
Yeah, I don't think Tamlin.
Okay.
I don't think that came from Tamlin. So, but one of my favorite things about this chapter is that one of Tamlin's favorite things about this area is the lake. And Feyre sees it and she describes it as a lake of starlight.
Yeah.
And she, because she even says it's so beautiful, there's no way she'd ever be able to paint it or capture it. And she doesn't want to touch it because she's almost afraid of it a little bit. But I can't remember if it is actually starlight but it's magical. Like because she's even says, how is this a thing? Like, how does this even exist? And Tamlin's literally like, magic.
Right. The answer for everything. But they're so used to it that it's like, I think to see it fascinate someone so much is just like, I'm sure it's kind of, I don't know. I'd like to be a fly on the wall, just kind of watching them. I like how as their relationship starts to develop, even though we know it's not a forever thing, I love how innocent it feels once they both actually start to build that mutual bond and that connection between them. It feels very like kiddish, like puppy love-ish kind of. Well, because
this is where she says, can we even be friends?
There's a lot of tender moments when they start to get to this point.
So she's like, she needs a friend.
Yeah.
She has had no friends until this moment. And I think that this is where she realizes that maybe she can be at least friends with them. I don't think she's even thinking love.
Yeah.
But
she does compare him to Isaac, though. At one point,
does.
Because she's like, she's never felt a certain way. She hasn't felt whatever Tamlin is eliciting in her. She had never felt with Isaac, and she's starting to feel towards Tamlin. So I think there is that like potential romantic, yeah, definitely.
And okay, and this is where we find out how her father was the Prince of Merchants or whatever his name is. But because Tamlin asks her about where she grew up or her past, because he's like, there's no way you've been poor your whole life.
Yeah.
And she's like, how do you know? He said, because you speak intelligently, basically. And I think is probably the first genuine compliment. And again, that's probably the best compliment that she could have gotten from.
I think that makes her feel something.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Like, here's somebody who's paying attention to me. He's not relying on me to survive, right? So this is somebody who's now genuinely paying attention to me. He has absolutely nothing, that she knows of, nothing to gain from my existence. He reaps no benefit, no reward from complimenting me. He must mean it.
Yeah.
So,
right. And then we get to, so then we really see how, like, that's when we get like the ages of Farah and how young she was, and they lost everything when she was 11. And it just, he lost his job when he was 11, and then they had enough money to last
For like 4 years or something.
Yeah, that's crazy. And then she just decided, okay, I guess we got to start providing for the family.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's just like more little gifts of each other. They're just giving little, like, here's some part of me, here's some part of you.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was like, and that's a sweet, chapter 18 is a really sweet chapter. It ends with her talking to Lucian.
Yes.
And
right. And she apologizes for, she basically like understands why Lucian essentially hated her.
And she does it. Yeah. She's remorseful.
Yeah.
And he's
for killing
and
him.
he admits, well, first of all, she didn't rat him out. Farah did not rat out Lucian to Tamlin about
right.
Like,
That's
he's
true.
the one who told her all about the serial. She was just like a real one and kept that confidence, and he's grateful for that. And he admit that he heard her scream and he hesitated to save her.
Yeah. But even that, I think she gets it. It's like, I get that.
I understand. Yeah.
But the fact that, Tamlin was faster and whatever got there first. Because he does say, like, he did hesitate, but he was going to go, right? But Tamlin got there first or something like that. I think he alluded to
but then
that he would have
go.
gone. Yeah. But Tamlin got there first. And so, and that's probably left a little bit of guilt in him, because it's like, damn, if Tamlin didn't go, like, I hesitated, and that 1 second that I hesitated,
right,
she could have died.
Absolutely.
And maybe even in that moment, if he really didn't feel the weight of that guilt, he would feel it later on when everybody realizes what Farah is and what she does.
He also like admires her for saving the cereal before killing the Naga.
He says, Tam told me your first act was to save the cereal, not yourself. And she was like, it just seemed like the right thing to do.
Yeah. Wasn't smart.
Yeah.
Wasn't safe, but it was right.
Just more.
further like
admirable.
Speaks to her character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then doesn't Lucian give her a knife or something?
Yeah. And he says, here's a knife. Don't stab me in the back with it.
Yeah. And that like further
love that.
like starts to develop their friendship.
Like the friendship.
Yeah. Okay.
It's all downhill from there.
So
in a good way.
we got to chapter 19, y'all. We're gonna stop because we got stuff to do, and then we will pick up on chapter 19 next time.
Yeah.
And thanks for joining us. Thanks for your comments. We love you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.